Hi guys, my name is Tasha Jensen. I chose to read R.E.M. for my library assignment this week. It is written by Ryan Kolchke. It is drawn by Zamber Huska. It is lettered by Kara Wininski. And it is produced by Mark B. Neubauer. It is published by Spook Lane Entertainment. And it is approximately 176 pages long and is a graphic novel. It is not a compilation. I can't tell you what page numbers the acts actually occur on, as the book itself is not actually page numbered anywhere. It's full graphics all the way through, which I think helped with the plot. But I can tell you what happened around each act. Act 1 starts off with him making a very strong quote about how sleep affects us as a person and how much time you lose just in sleeping, which is a fascinating concept of its own, but plays into something else, which I'll go into later. However, Act 1 ends when he comes up with this ingenious moment where his devoted lifetime project is finally mastered. When he's in a bookstore going through books that his ex-girlfriend slash fiance who passed away used to read. And at that point in time, the girl who is in the library or bookstore, they kind of play it off as both, tells him he needs to chill out, and he realizes that that's what's missing from his master project to conquer sleep. It's kind of cool. So from there, that's where Act 2 begins, and he actually goes and purchases dried ice to add it to his machine to make it so he never has to sleep officially again. And then Act 2 ends and Act 3 begins when he starts to become extremely paranoid because everybody seems to be out for his design, his invention, because he's finally mastered it and nobody has to sleep. And that happens officially when he realizes his good friend, his mentor, and anybody he ever studied from, he believes that they're one of them trying to get his invention and trying to use it for all the wrong things. The story is Michael's story. He's the main character. His goal is to, in an odd way, he's got two goals. He's trying to conquer sleep so nobody ever has to sleep again and you never have to lose time. He's trying to make it so the human body can function 100% on anywhere from 1 hour to 3 hours of sleep and be 100% functional, more so than what an average person is on a regular sleep cycle. There's actually intense science behind this graphic novel, and it's fantastic. Now, he's also at the same time trying to find a cure for Eva and find a way to reunite with her again without dealing with the fact that she died. She died by committing suicide, and you slowly kind of learn that in the beginning, that she had mental health issues, she was bipolar, and he truly believes that if she could have found a way to sleep without having to actually sleep, it would have saved her. So throughout this entire time, those are the two things he's chasing. But of course, as I said, he masters the ability not to sleep by the end of Act 1. And he starts chasing Eva in his dreams, which are flashes that happen throughout the novel in weird times. And it makes things a little hard to follow sometimes. Now, I do believe that the resolution was very satisfactory, especially for how they pin everything on sleep, and the only way to ever truly sleep is to die. And that's about where I'm going to leave it, because I don't want to ruin it for anybody. I do believe that all of the characters that are represented in this book have a really good character arc, except for his mother. His mother's not a main, she's a very side character, and I don't think she has time to fully develop. But I do believe that his brother, who you see is very caring and comes to see him, has a whole turn of the tables where he no longer cares. And like I said, his mentor ends up turning him in and wanting to actually have him sell his project to use him to expand on his own life, basically. And there's a priest, and you see a full revolution through that, where he seems to be the good, caring guy, and then by the end, he's not so much. He tends to go down a very evil path in the sake of righteousness to be able to reach the equivalency of God through not having to be able to sleep again through Michael's invention. It's quite impressive. Now, I do believe that there were effective transitions throughout the book, in a sense. There were a couple points where things ended and it really made me want to turn the page, but I can't say there was never a time I didn't want to turn the page, and I feel like it was more because you get so wrapped up in the lull of the story that you just keep going, almost as if you're in a dream state yourself. It's very interesting. But there are a couple points where there are some really good transitions, and I have them marked. For one, it's when you first meet the priest, and he actually runs into him into the library/bookstore. And the last page actually shows the priest and everything turning on into the next, and he's looking off into empty space, which is a great cliffhanger and just made me want to turn the page. And it left you into an even bigger cliffhanger that didn't tie until later, until his curiosity got the best of him and he actually went and visited the priest at the church, which is awesome that it took so long to get there because it was a very big gap that made me keep wanting to go, is the easiest way to describe that. The other time was actually closer to Act 3, again, though, around the time when we meet the priest. I can get to the page. Yes. So it's actually at the end of when we meet the priest, and we actually kind of learn what he's all about and where he is trying to take Michael with his invention, and it gets into a very aggressive altercation, and Michael actually starts running off of the page, which is kind of cool. There's a lot of open boxes, like there's no true enclosed scenes. A lot of the scenes run together, which is a very interesting concept that was in the book. I do think the way they transition, though, works really well for the tempo of the book and for what they were trying to achieve, because you have to keep in mind that Michael isn't sleeping anymore. He's not a normal human in a sense. Now, in that sense, though, there's a lot of pages that tend to be mini comics, and one of them happens to be like this one. So this whole page is a very interesting turn for Michael because you kind of see him becoming interested in somebody again, and you get so caught up in the moment of him actually maybe being able to move on from Eva that when you go over to this page is all about him being super paranoid and that he's got to leave and he doesn't let himself get there and he's completely closed off. And it's crazy, which is another good transition moment because he's leaving. But there's a few good moments like that. But everything seems to be very fluid and together. There's almost no enclosed boxes. Everything tends to bleed together, which works really well for how the story uses its directional flow in a sense, because he's dreaming. And if you think about how your dreams go, when you have multiple ideas, everything blends together and becomes this really weird dream. So if you're awake all of the time and you're only needing to sleep 3 hours and you're still fully functional, your actual life becomes your dream state. And that's kind of why I believe they use that to bleed everything together and blend it. So everything just seems to be happening all at once. Nothing seems fast, but nothing seems slow. It was an interesting pace because I've never met it in a comic before. Everything's either been super fast-paced action or with a little bit of slow story, or there's slow story, super fast-paced action, and not. The only time this ever picks up on action is in Act 3 when he becomes super paranoid and you're kind of seeing his mind pull everywhere. In an odd way, I found myself getting pulled more into Michael in the ways that they kind of show him looking inwards a lot. He's constantly pulling himself into the center of the book or facing the center. And in a weird way, it's almost like they're pulling you into his mind. And they keep pulling you into there. He's almost always never looking to the future. He's always looking back. And he's always pulled into that past of Eva. And it's such a strong sense that it really makes you feel sorry for how connected he was with Eva. And it almost makes you wish that you could know more about her, but you really only know as much as you get in the dreamlike states, which pulls you through. It's different, and I think that's why I like it. Which leads me into the fact that I would heavily recommend this. It's not anything that I would have normally have picked up for a comic book. I normally look for vivid colors, and I always tend to look for an author that I've already known, and normally something more sci-fi or fantasy, and this was very sci-fi without me knowing it. And I'm not going to lie, what pulled me in is the title, and I read the first 2 pages and was hooked on the scientific backing behind it. But this was a very different graphic novel. It read almost like a Stephen King psychological thriller without being a thriller. Because you truly get pulled into Michael's mind while watching him go through this. And that's very different. The only thing that's come close to, I would have to say, is probably my favorite comic series, which is the Sandman series, which I know somebody is reading. But it's fascinatingly different. It's fantastic. And I would definitely recommend this for my friends. A lot of my friends don't read comics, so I'm working on that. But even for somebody who doesn't read comics, I think this would also be very enjoyable for them because it's very even-tempoed like a book, and it's very immersive. Now, the other cool thing that I did want to state, though, about this, because I'm clearly going over time, is that this actually kind of plays into a transmedia story. There's a short video that actually is like a prologue to this, which I didn't watch until after I read it, and I kind of did that on purpose. And then I went back through and read the book again, and it made the emotions in the book so much more intense. So if you get a chance and you want to know more about it, I definitely suggest going to remchair.com. And I also believe that this is actually 100% free on Kindle right now. I believe that's what Amazon said. I also know that you can get it at your local library because that's where I got mine. And on that note, that's all I got, and I really hope you guys pick up a copy of this because this is fantastic. I'm probably going to buy it for myself. See you later, guys.